today I'm going to create a video and we're going to discuss one of the most important questions I get on how to create features for machine learning for sports betting, especially, but the right way, because I see many of you try to build models, spending so much time on them, but in reality, the features that you use are not the optimal ones. Right now, we'll go straight into a really good example that I think will help you develop your existing models or even start them from scratch again, but do them the right way. So as you see here, I have an Excel file. We'll do it in Excel. I will present you the table that we're going to build and how we will do it in order to be able to take this table afterwards and run our machine learning algorithms. The same thing can be done in a better way, faster, of course. In Python, this is at least the coding language that I'm using. Or you can use Excel, as I will do it here. Then use Orange to try to process the data. It also works, but if you think that if you take in consideration that we are going to use this for every league that you can find. This is, for example, for the English Premier League, but you need to do it for all of the leagues. If you want more sports, it depends on the scale you want to use it. And of course, if you use a coding language, it's gonna be much faster, much more efficient. And this is what I think you should all do. You should not use like 100 different software in order to achieve one thing that can be done in one software. Invest your time in this software. For me, it's Python and go the way. But for now, we're gonna use, for this example at least, Excel, which is the easiest way for me to show you and present you my thought. So let's see how we start. So we need to find a website. So one of the websites that is useful, and this is one also of the sites that I use, is Bet Explorer. It has some sports over here, but you can also go to Flashscore or any other site that you think that you can find enough data. And for example, we'll try to find soccer, so it's football and Premier League, for example. So what we need to take from here, we need to go to results. So here you'll see the past results. So it's the home team and the away team. Then we have the score, the final score, and then we have what type, what were the odds, and then it's the date over here. So this is the simplest example that we can find, but in a proper model, you should have more data than this. It can be many more stats, and it can be anything you can find. It can be weather, it can be other predictions from other sites, it can be whatever you have in mind. But this is, I think, the simplest model, the simplest method that you can start and build your own model. So let's start. Here is a table that we can find that has all the matches, the results, all the past matches. And then, because Premier League, let's go to fixtures. Okay, so those are the future matches. So we have the past matches and the exact same tables with the future matches. So we need to find a way to combine all those. So how we do it? We need to open an Excel file. And here, if you go to data, you can find queries. So you need to create a new query. If you click this button to show all the queries, you'll see what type of queries we have, or what is this that we want to build. We want to build first a query for the results, Then we want to build another query. So it's going to be a link that will go into Bed Explorer over here. We'll take this table, and then if we go back to Excel, we will create a third query that will connect those two queries and will give us a table, which will be this green table over here. And then either you can still build inside the query the features that were, so the extra calculated columns can be built through queries, or just for the purpose of it's easier for me to show it to you. I already created the calculated columns in here, so we can see also the code behind the calculated column. So let's see how we do it. First, we need to create this results query over here. So if we go to results, we just need to copy this link and try to find this table over here. So I'm copying this link. I'm going to data, going to new query, and I'm going to create a query, new query from other sources, and it's going to be from web. And then you need to paste your link here with the results. If you click OK, then a navigator comes, and here you see the tables of the site if they are available. On this side, we see that they are available, but I don't click on load yet. I need to click on edit first over here. And then we get this table. So here we can do a lot of things. So I can start building it, but I will just click because I've already built it, so it will be much faster if I just discard and then go to results. So we were on those two. So first we get from this link over here, we get the code. Then you can see over here, this is still what it creates when we import the link. And then this is how we start. Then we need to split this column over here, which is the home and away matches, by delimiter. So what we do is that we go in here, it has a button and it says split this column, and you split it by delimiter. I'm not going to do it now, but this is exactly what this does. So if you see this step, you see what I have done. So I have before it was this one, two names. Right now we have split it the same column with this delimiter onto two different names. Then we need to rename the columns over here. So we rename the column. So the column 6, I renamed it to date, as you can see over here. So before it was column 6, now it's date. Then I remove some columns that I don't want. And the columns that I removed was column 4. So for example, I didn't want to see draws, but you can still keep the draws, the odds for the draws. This is just an example that I'm showing you, how you can take and transform data in a very, very fast way. Then, because when we splitted the columns, before the columns there is a small space, as you can see over here, Bradford, for example. So what we do, there is a small space in between the text. So we trim those columns. So we select the columns, or you can do it for all the columns, and you click. There is trim, a button that is called trim. So if you go to transform and then format, if you click here on trim, it will cut the spaces that are before the text that you have. So if you go here, you see now that there is no space at all. Then I rename again some columns. So now they have a name, home, away, this is still column because I need to split the score as well. Then this is home odds, away odds, and this is still date. Then I split the second, the column 2, as you see here. So here we have just the score for the home team and the away team. Then we need to change the type because you can see here this is just text, and we don't want that. We need those first two to be text. Then this one we need it to be a whole number, which is the score. This one the same, and this one needs to be decimal number, and this one needs to be a date. So if we change type to, if we click in here, the next step, you see that this is a number for now, a whole number, and everything in this column that wasn't a number before. So if we go one step backwards, we'll see that here this wasn't a number. So if something has something more than a number, and you click on it, and you say that I only want to have in this column whole numbers, then it will create an error. So here you see that where we have a score, it's a score, but then we have an error. Then we rename the column from 2 to 1 to score 2, as you can see here, and then we just reorder the columns into the way that we want them to be presented, and then I filter the rows. So what I do by say filter the rows, I go to away over here and say whatever is null. So wherever there is no team, I don't want it to be there. And why do I do that? Because if you go to one step backwards, you see that wherever is null, it's this round name that I see over here. This is 20 round, 27 round. This is not what I want. I only want the home team, the away team, the date, the score, and the odds. So this is the final thing that we have. For example, here that we see errors, we may not want to have this match as well. So what we do is that we come here that says null, we click here and we filter all the nulls out. So here is the final table again. Okay, so if we click enter, if we click enter here, go to home and close and load. I'm not doing it because it's already loaded. Then you're gonna have this query over here. After that, we want to do the same thing with fixtures. If you go to source, you see here that it's the same link, but it has the ending fixtures. So if we go here, you see that it's exactly this one over here. And then this is what we get, the source and the navigation. We get the headers, that we have headers. Then we split the columns, we do exactly the same things. We split the first column into two different ones, so we have Everton and Leicester now. We rename the columns, so we change that to time. I don't even remember what's here. Then we have we reorder a bit the columns, we remove some columns that are not needed, we rename the columns, then remove some other columns, rename the columns again, split the columns by the delimiter, then rename the columns. So this is the final headers that I want. Then we filter the rows again, so we take away the nulls, as you can see here from away. Then I add an index column over here. I sort the rows. So why I did that? Because I want to have them sorted in descending instead of ascending that it was before. And why do I do that? Because as you see here, in the end I'm going to create a table that will be a combination of the previous table of the results plus the fixtures underneath. So what I want to do, if you see here results, um, they start from the oldest and they come to up to the newest. So they come up to today. While when you go to features, they start from today and then they go, they start from today here, I think, and then they go to the oldest. So the order that we have is descending and then it's ascending. So it's those two different ones. So what I'm doing is that I create an index and then I resort them in another way. But this, I mean, this is because it's Excel. If you use Python, you just take the date, you fixture the date, and then it's easy to just have two tables. Anyway, what I'm showing right now, instead of create two different queries, you can just create one query. Just take the first fixture table first, then take the um, scrape. This is a way of scraping. Scrape the fixtures table already in one query. So in the end, we just remove another column and we come up to this one. So right now we have two tables and we need to create our final table over here. So what we do is we go to the first query, we right click, and then we say append. And here we want to append into the result table, we want to append the fixture table. And then after we do that, a new query will be created. So we can open that. So in that query, if we click at the source, you see that this is exactly the step that I talked to you about before. And everything is inside here for now. So if we see, if we come here, you see that here there is no score, but if you go a little bit under it, it's the results. That score is there. So what we do here, I add a new column, a custom column, because this is the English Premier League, and because I'm gonna have different leagues. So when I combine into Python or to any other software the same table but for another league, I want to have at the same column that says league, I want to have the name of each league. So here that this is the scraper, let's say for English Premier League, I just write England Premier League. I write it once, so of course when I update afterwards, the same name will be here. All those steps will be there, so I'm not going to need to do anything. I'll just open the Excel file afterwards. I refresh the tables, and in 3 seconds you have all those steps created and your table is updated all the time with scores and results. Okay, so we added this column over here. Then I reorder a bit the columns. I took, I think, the league over here. And then I add another conditional column as I see here. And I write here, this is a little bit of code. I write that if this is date, if the date is tomorrow, so if this column is written on it tomorrow, then this column must be also tomorrow. Otherwise, write null. And we can see it here. If we go to date, let's see if there is any column, any text that it says tomorrow. Okay, so you see that there is tomorrow and today. Okay, so I'm going to create a column because this is not a readable date. I'm trying to create a column in reality to be able to have a date and then sort them. So what I'm going to do, I added a conditional column, as you can see here, that wherever this is tomorrow, just write here tomorrow. Then I name the column. This name is the column tomorrow. Then I add another conditional column, which is when this is today, when date is today, write today, otherwise write nothing. So it's this one. Then I added another conditional column, and I write if this is yesterday, then write yesterday. So if date was yesterday, write yesterday. So we have tomorrow, today, and yesterday. because this column date can have such values. And then I change the type, this column, the first column, as existing column. So it turned, because I said that this column should only contain dates. So if I go one step backward, you see that wherever I have this type of dates, it creates a date, but wherever it's null, wherever there is nothing, or tomorrow, for example, or today, it gives an error, or it gives null. Yeah, it gives null. That's why I have tomorrow, today, and yesterday in 3 other columns. And then I'm trying to combine all those in one column that will have today and then dates. So let's see how we do afterwards. Here it says renamed columns. So I rename those columns to tomorrow, today, and yesterday. Then I replace the errors from, it says replace telos from the date null. So wherever there is an error on this date, I replace it with null. Then I merge the columns 1, 2, 3, 4. So right now we have one merged column that is consisted of column today, yesterday, tomorrow, and today, plus the date, the initial date, and we have our merged column over here that you see it has the dates, and then it has tomorrow, today, or there is null, wherever it was null. And now what we need to do, we rename the column to date, as you can see here. We reorder the column over here. We rename this column from time to pivot time. If we go back, you see why we do that. And then we trim the home and away, because we didn't want to have any spaces in between. We renamed column 4. Let's go back. Which one was column? If we go here, so it changes pivot date, date to pivot date. So we have pivot date right now and pivot time, and then we have filter rows. So here we select the rows, rename columns 4. Okay, so this is probably nothing, it's not needed. So if we click OK, then we're getting this table over here, up to here. So then the next two columns, we created pivot date and pivot time, and we need to come to a proper date and time right now. So the matches that are above have nothing, but we know that according to this side over here, go to results, maybe here fixtures. Okay, so we know that when we have a date and there is nothing above, it means that there is the same date. So we need somehow to find nulls and put the date that is under those. So Norwich and Leicester will be at the 8th. Crystal Palace and Chelsea would be at the 7th. So if we come here, we create this calculated column, as you can see over here. So the date, I'm writing that if the column date, maybe I can do there. Okay, so if this at the same row, if this column over here is nothing, then write this value. Otherwise, if it is today, give me today's date. If it is tomorrow, give me today plus 1, so give me tomorrow's date. If it is yesterday, give me today minus 1. So by doing that, we have the dates. So it checks what's written here, and then it creates the column that we want. I think the same thing is with time. Here's the time that checks the pivot time, and then it finds underneath if there is something, and then it puts it in here. So this is the code. You can use it, and instead of doing that, you can just go into schedule results. Instead of having to create those two columns, you can just go here, find the dates that you want, and then there is this really useful command. I need to find it. It's this one that says fill, so it fills up with all the values that are there. Anyway, here I create another column that it says results. So by having the scores over here, I'm writing this really useful command that this is our target column. If we want to see the results, if we want to see if the match was over under, if we want to see if the match was over 1.5 or 2.5, if it was both team to score goal, if it was whatever we want to see. It depends on the info that we have, what type of target or what we want to predict. So every prediction we want to have, we can have a calculated column for that. And then we can start creating features. This is the most important thing right now, how we create features. So the whole video up to now was to be able to take this table automatically, and then we need to figure out how to create our features. So how do we create our features? It's really, really important what I'm gonna say now. I see many of you with your models that you just take the teams, you find the table, the league table, and then you put the stats of the league table into here. And then you do this, you have a VLOOKUP that you check the table for each team, and then you put for each team the stats in here, like at the first video that I showed. But this is not the right way, this is not the optimal way to do it, because you have the same teams, but Norwich, for example, on the previous league match, it didn't have the same stats, so it has different dynamic. So you couldn't compare the stats of this week's for Norwich with the stats of the previous week for Norwich. So you always need to have updated stats for each day. So if you see here, let's go from underneath. Here are the home matches played first. So we see that we have Bradford against Arsenal. The result was it was 2-0, and this is the result was home team to win. And before this match, this team hasn't played any match, Bradford. Then the away team, Arsenal, before this match hasn't played any match. So what this line tells us, what those teams, what were the stats of those teams before this day, before this match. So this is how we compare the dynamics of each team, and this is how we can use it in our machine learning algorithm. So it will be a separate line that will have the current stats of each team. So this is how we compare, and in order to be able to compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges, we need to be able to have normalized numbers. So we need to make all those numbers, all the stats, all the features that we create, we need to make them per game, per match. So we would be able to compare the home wins, for example, per matches that Norwich had at the 10th league day, 10th match day, against Everton's league matches at the 11th day. Okay, so in order to do that, we start by creating numbers for how many matches, for example, Norwich or the home team has played before this day, before the 22nd, for example. And we see that Norwich has 18, but if we see Norwich again here, Norwich had 17 by that much. So we will find all the stats by that day and we'll divide them by the number of matches. So we'll get this normalized number per match. So we're going to have the stats or the goals or whatever we have per match in order to be able to compare with the other stats and the opposite team's stats. So how do we do that? It's really simple in Excel, because when you have that's why we created this table. When you create a column next to a table, this column, this table expands to one more column. And that's the trick. When you when you start your Excel file and you go into refresh all, it will go into Bed Explorer, update the results table. It will update the previous table with odds and all the new matches with the new times, maybe that they're there. Maybe the dates are, or the time has changed, or the odds. So you always have updated odds, updated dates and times, and updated results. So automatically, just by clicking the refresh all, you will have the results and all your calculated columns one by one. And then this updated and refreshed table with all your calculated columns or your features, you can take them into Python Orange and do your machine learning the proper way. And then by having columns like that, target columns, can be results, over, under, goals, or whatever, you will be able to predict by following those columns. Okay, so how do we create this first column that it says I've given a name like home team, home matches played. Then I have away team, away matches played. But you can also have, for the home team, total matches played, or whatever you want to do. This is just an example. So for now, let's do that. It's the home team, this column over here. How many matches prior to this row played? So how I did that? If we click here, we'll see just a very simple formula. Count if. Okay, count if. And then it says, if you see here, range. So where will it count? It will count from A3. So from, if we're at this line, it will count from one line under it. So from A3. And I've locked the lower cell, the lower line, is the lower row. So it's from A is until A425, because my table doesn't go below that. But you can, it doesn't matter what you write here. It may be A1000. But I lock it because I don't want because when it is a formula, and this formula follows, if the cell is not locked, it follows the line. So it means that this one will try to search into this range, so from one row below up to row A425, and we'll try to search for this name. So the name which is at the same line at this calculated column. So the name that we're trying to find is Norwich. So wherever it finds Norwich here, it counts. So if you see that this is A3. If we go to the next cell here, this is A4, but this is the same locked cell. But this home name is different now. It's Manchester City. So if we do the same for, let's say, Norwich, but let's find Norwich. Okay, this is here, the next Norwich match. So if I click in here, as you see, it's 17, not 18 that it was before. This is, it starts from May 23, so from the cell below, and counts how many times. So this is really simple, how many matches the team has played up to this date. So we do the same for the away team, how many away matches have played. You see here, it's exactly the same formula, count if, from one cell, one row below, up to, it doesn't matter if it's 900, if it's 400, it has to be below the end of the table. And this is the away column, the away name of the away column. Okay, so this is how easy it is. And then you can create as many features as you can think. So for example, most of you just have the summary of wins, and you say, okay, this team up to this game day has 17 wins and 3 losses, or this team has 12 wins, 4 draws, and okay, this is, you can have the skill. I mean, how strong a team is in attack, but um, it's always good because you never know which feature is more important in each league, in each sport. And maybe there are stats that you don't even know that they're important. So how we do it? You need to be able to have features for the last 5 games, for the last 4 games, for the last 3 games, and so on. So you can just have a column that calculates the wins, the home wins for the last 5 games, the home losses for the last 5 games, how many goals this team scored for the last 5 games, how many goals this team received for the last 5 games, and then for the away team the same. So wins and goals for the last 5 games or for the last 4 games and so on can be calculated in order to be able to find the form. So goals and wins are only coming from this simple table. Imagine that you can do this with any stats. And if you divide those by number 5 here, because the last 5, or number 4, because here, because it's the last 4 matches, or if you can do it for all the matches, so how many wins divided not to 5 or 4, but to 18 or 16 or 17, whatever you have here, you will be able to compare the dynamic, the strength, the skill, the strength of the team, the attacking strength of the team, generally in the whole, during the whole league, the last 5 matches, so you find the form immediately. But you can also compare the last 5 and the last 4 and the last 2 matches. What is the strength of each team, and be able also to compare other stats as well. Are assist important? Is possession important? You can have all the stats and create different, for the example that I've written over here. You see that I did that for home wins, losses, home goals for, and home goals against. So this is for the home team and this is for the away team, and you can do this for the last 4 matches, let go, last 3 matches, last 2 matches, last 1 match, and in the end you can do anything you want. You can just take those numbers and do a Poisson distribution. So you can either have a Poisson distribution, or you can just take the attacking strength of one team, divide it, or compare it in any way, have the average of the goals that one team scores and the goals the away team receives. So you can have this combined number, the average of that number, and have the attacking, the home score of the team, of the match. You can do this for the away score as well. This is as simple as that, but as important as that. This is really, really important. And then you can let machine learning just take in consideration all the features and judge and come up with predictions. This is how you judge if the features that you created are correct, are important, or how important they are. Maybe those doesn't seem to be that important. So what you can do is that try to build other features from that. Maybe if you combine the last five away matches and the last two home matches, maybe this is a better feature. Maybe some time of ELO ratings you can also feature here. So every calculated column can be a feature. Just Google. There are many indicators, possible indications that you can just create by numbers, by stats, and then those indicators that will be calculated columns can be one feature. And this one feature that you will come up with, machine learning will take it and judge and give the right weight on it. And if you have many multiple machine learning algorithms, they will come with the best combination that you cannot even imagine that exists. So machine learning can certainly find the best way, the optimal way to combine the numbers. You just need to find the significance of the number just by creating the right way the features, exporting them into a machine learning algorithm and come up with predictions. So we can just go into two or three other calculated columns, and I think that will be enough for today because this is the base. This is the main question that I get from all of you, and I help some of you with that thing that I know it helped a lot with classification accuracy, the accuracy generally of your algorithm. And I'm really glad because the better the features, the better the accuracy, the better the predictions, and then the easiest way that we can make profit. I'm really happy that we're already many of us, and I think just right after the summer, I will be able to start with some of you those algorithm battles we discussed about, because I know that some algorithms that are out there are really good. They're close to mine. With some of you, with three of you, we send matches every week. We compare, and I know that you have come really close to what I do, to the accuracy and generally to my type of thinking. I know many of you have profits with, especially with UBM method. But I know that some of you have also started with this FS method. You have triple, quadruple your bankroll, and now you can just go on and proceed as type of professional, but not professional. I cannot say we're gamblers or bettors. We're just coders. I cannot say that we're coders. We're people that we like to investigate how stats can make an impact and what we can do to improve our sports betting theory. I don't know. Anyway, let's go to this one over here. So this is for the home team for the last five matches. How many wins? So how I did that. If we click here, we see this is a little more complicated formula. So it's not count if, it's count if s. So it will combine more criteria into one. It's not only one criteria, one range and one criteria, but it's more. So how do we start here? So it says that into this range, which is this one over here, result range, from one cell above, well, one cell below, of course, because we're checking the stats up to this line, up to this row, the stats of Norwich, as you can see here. So into this result column that I indicate over here, that has one cell below that follows the lines, and the locked value, locked cell, which is 953, or it can be whatever, under the table, the dynamic table, of course, you see that we're looking for H. So wherever is H, that means the home team won. And because for this line, the home team is Norwich. You can see, so wherever it is Norwich under here, and wherever there is home below this line, so those are the two ifs. So it tells you what is the criteria range. It's this one. And what do you want me to find? I want you to find home. And then what is the next criteria range? It's this one over here at the home name below Norwich. And what do you want me to find? I want you to find home here. So it will try to find Norwich into this column. And there's another criteria is in here at the column M, which is the matches. I don't want. I just check the matches that are. This is a trick right now because I needed to find this number, how many matches before those. So here the number is 18, and I want to find, because I'm checking for the last 5 matches, I want the number that I will check into this column to be smaller, to be bigger than this number minus 5. So it finds the, so this is, I indicate the range, and then I'm telling it that I want the number to be bigger, so this here 18 or whatever it is under it, to be bigger or equal to count how many times this Norwich team is in here, minus 5. So it will just find this number again and will subtract number 5. So it will always count the numbers, count how many home wins there are when there is Norwich into here, and where the number, the home matches, are 18 minus 5. So if the number is, the home match is 13, it will count it. So it's a bit more complicated, but if you just follow along with this formula, you will understand it exactly. Try to experiment a bit with that. I'm sure it's not really hard to understand it and create it. If we go on the next line, you'll see that it starts from the lower line. It's search for Manchester City in here, and it follows the exact same procedure. This is for the home teams to win, and for the last 5 matches, and this is for the home team losses at the last 5 matches. So how it's exactly the same thing, but in here in the column result it checks for away team to win. So if this is away, that means that our home win lost. So it's exactly the same as before, but here is away instead of home. Then for the home goals for, this is it summarizes the goals that the team scored in the last 5 matches. So generally it's the same, exactly the same formula, but if you see here, it also has this D column inside, which is the scores, because we need to have like the summary of the score. We don't have count right here, we have summary if certain criteria are met. So first we put what is the range that you need to summarize. So I say that I want you to summarize, if there is a home team, the goals that this home team scored, and this is one of the criteria. So I want you to Manchester City to be in here, and then this is exactly as how it was before. So in here for the matches, I want it to be those matches, but I need it to be this minus 5. This is what it says up to here, and then it also summarizes Anyway, this is over here. It's the name of the table. So even if this wasn't here, it will still be okay. But anyway, this is how it is. I hope you like the video. I hope you get the idea. If you have questions, just don't hesitate to ask me. Find me on Twitter. I'm sure your future coach or your coach will get much more value after following this video. But don't forget that this is just an example. It doesn't mean that this is the actual way of doing it. This is just an example for you to know. If you want help, especially with your code, just contact me. I'm really glad to help you. Most of you know how helpful I am. I'm really glad when you reach a very good level, and then we can compare. And I also improve with your ideas. I improved much in the last, I don't know, 5-6 months, my code as well. Okay, this was that. Really glad to talk to you again. After so much time, I really created a big video. I hope most of you spend a bit of your time and watch it. Really glad to making videos again. So good luck.